Clara's first love had come back home after getting a divorce, just 2 years after she and I were married. That night, for the first time in our entire relationship, she didn't come home. It was a clear sign, a silent confirmation of all my deepest fears. I remembered a time, back before the wedding, when Clara's father had offered me $500,000 to walk away from her. I refused him then, blinded by love and a naive belief that it would be enough. Now, standing in the quiet of our empty house, I finally understood. I was ready to take the deal, but the terms had changed. I was going to ask for $1 million. After all, the son-in-law he had always preferred was single again. If I stepped aside, I knew he would be thrilled. The sky was still a dim, pre-dawn gray when I found myself standing outside my father-in-law's study at 6 in the morning. I raised my hand and knocked firmly on the heavy oak door. 10 minutes later, the entire Vance household was in an uproar. 2 hours after that, a courier delivered the signed divorce papers to Clara's office. By that evening, while I was trying to lose myself on a crowded dance floor with my sister at a downtown bar, Clara's people arrived and shut the whole place down. "Ethan, why aren't you making breakfast? What kind of trouble are you stirring up this early in the morning?" my father-in-law, Mr. Vance, yelled. He stood at his doorway, his hair a disheveled mess, his eyes glaring at me. "And you're wearing something so flashy. Aren't you ashamed? You're an embarrassment to our family." He was genuinely furious, jabbing a finger toward my clothes. Clara had always preferred men in crisp white shirts and tailored suits. Her father had made it clear that being her husband meant no tank tops, no shorts. It would embarrass them. For 2 years I had complied so thoroughly that I'd almost forgotten I had a body worth showing off, instead of letting it go to waste. Seeing that I didn't respond, he must have assumed I'd lost my nerve again, and began his usual lecture. "Go upstairs, change your clothes, and then go make breakfast. We're having Chinese this morning." I calmly brushed his finger aside. "Sir," I said, "let's discuss some business." He looked at me as if I'd grown a second head. "What did you just call me? Ethan? Are you possessed?" A short while later, I was seated on the plush sofa in the living room, directly across from Mr. Vance, who still looked tired and disheveled. The perpetually proud old man was losing his composure for the 3rd time that day. "You're asking me for $1 million? And in return, you'll divorce Clara?" My brother-in-law, Leo, smirked at me from a nearby armchair. "Ethan, you're so obsessed with my sister. Are you really willing to let her go?" I ignored him, keeping my focus on Mr. Vance. "Yes. 2 years ago, you offered me $500,000 to leave Clara. I didn't accept it then. I've had time to reconsider. But Clara's value has surely doubled since marrying me, so it's only fair that my price does too, right?" "You're out of your mind," Mr. Vance snapped. "Clara, call Clara and get her down here." I crossed my arms, leaned back into the sofa cushions, and offered a small smile. "You don't need to call her. She didn't come home last night. If I'm not mistaken, Julian's return has kept her quite busy all night." Mr. Vance's face instantly paled. Leo, on the other hand, looked thrilled. "Julian is back? No wonder my sister was in such a good mood yesterday." Mr. Vance shot him a withering glare, and Leo immediately fell silent. Cheating during a marriage was a scandal their pristine family would want to avoid at all costs. "You liked him so much back then," I continued, pressing my advantage. "Now you two can finally be father and son. $1 million isn't an unreasonable price for that, is it?" I tapped the coffee table, pushing the signed divorce papers toward him. "Agree to my terms, and I will leave with absolutely nothing." Mr. Vance snatched the papers. It was true. The document clearly stated that I, Ethan, would leave the marriage with no assets. Still, his eyes were filled with suspicion. "Ethan, what are you scheming? I find it hard to believe you'd let go so easily." I shook my head and sighed dramatically. How should I put this? If someone used your toothbrush to clean a toilet, would you still want to use it afterward? My analogy clearly disgusted him. He grimaced. You, with your humble background. No wonder Clara never warmed up to you in 2 years. How could you ever compare to Julian? Well, I said, I'm giving you the opportunity to make that a reality now. Think about it. Dad, what is there to even consider? Just agree to it, Leo urged, his voice eager. He and Julian were close. So naturally, he had never liked me. It didn't matter to me anymore. Before, I let his comments slide because he was my brother-in-law. Now he was just some guy. 10 minutes later, the funds were secured. I went upstairs to retrieve my suitcase, which was already packed. When I came back down, nearly the entire Vance family was gathered in the living room, including my usually stern mother-in-law. She had always been surprisingly kind to me, never causing me any grief, and even looking after my own family's affairs. As I was leaving, she was the only one I acknowledged. Mom, I said softly, this will be the last time I call you that. Please take care of yourself, especially your legs. Keep them warm in the winter and have the staff make you soup often. I watched her sigh deeply. Then she motioned for me to come closer. Right in front of everyone, she pressed a bank card into my hand. Here's another $1 million. It's not much, but please take it. I thought to myself that while love and a wife were gone, 20 million wasn't a bad consolation prize. Just counting the zeros would take a moment. It would have taken my own father 2 decades to earn that much. I didn't object and accepted it graciously. Thank you, Mom. Shameless, Leo muttered under his breath. I was in a much better mood now and didn't care enough to argue. I pocketed the card, bid my final farewell to my mother-in-law, and rolled my suitcase out the front door. 2 hours later, I learned that the divorce papers, signed and sealed, had been delivered by Clara's assistant to her corporate office. Clara, the assistant said, Mr. Ethan sent these over. He said if you agree, you should let him know. Clara was so engrossed in her work, she didn't even look up. Just put it aside for now. I don't have time. Clara, I think you should really take a look, her assistant insisted gently. Clara frowned for a moment, but then her eyes caught the bold letters on the page. Divorce agreement. Her hand, holding a pen, froze mid-signature. She picked up the few thin sheets of paper, flipped through them, her gaze finally landing on my signature at the bottom. After a moment of silence, she tossed the papers back at her secretary. Call him, she commanded. Tell him I'll be home by 8 tonight. But aren't you supposed to attend the welcome dinner for Julian tonight? The assistant asked hesitantly. Clara simply raised an eyebrow. Make the call. The secretary nodded quickly and scurried away. Unfortunately for her, I had not only blocked Clara's number, but also the numbers of everyone in her immediate circle. If her German shepherd had a social media account, I would have blocked that too. Clara, it seems Mr. Ethan has blocked my number. The secretary's voice trembled. Clara's expression hardened. She reached for her own phone and tapped my name. Poor thing. She didn't even realize she was the very first person I had blocked. She put the phone down, took out a pack of cigarettes, and lit one. You can leave, she said, dismissing the secretary. After she finished her smoke, Clara composed herself and returned to her work. But then Leo called. Great news. You finally got rid of that loser Ethan, and now you can be with Julian. No more avoiding coming home just because you can't stand the sight of him. Aren't you excited? Leo, talk to me. What did Ethan do this time? Clara stood up, running a hand through her hair with a hint of frustration. She had only been gone for 1 night, and Ethan had taken such a drastic step. Did he even consider what he would do if she actually signed the papers? Ethan asked Dad for $1 million and agreed to the divorce. He's gone now. But to his credit, he only took his personal belongings and left all of your things untouched. I need to go share this good news with Julian." Leo was still buzzing with excitement, but the call abruptly ended. Clara grabbed her purse and strode out of her office. "Where is Ethan now?" she asked her secretary. "I'm sorry, Clara, we don't know. Mr. Ethan has blocked all of our numbers." Clara felt a surge of anger, but quickly suppressed it. "Didn't he say to let him know once I signed the papers?" The secretary glanced at Clara's severe expression and hesitated before speaking. "Mr. Ethan said that once you sign, you can meet him at the Civil Affairs office on Monday at 9 in the morning. He promised he wouldn't be late." Clara stood frozen for a moment, her face growing colder by the second. After a long pause, she took off her glasses and handed them to her assistant. "Track down Mr. Ethan's whereabouts and inform me immediately." "Yes, Clara. Should I prepare for the meeting now?" Clara nodded and went back into her office. The project she was working on was critically important, involving her company's development plan for the next 5 years. She had been working tirelessly for days, even pulling an all-nighter at the office the previous night to finalize it. Work had always been her top priority, and she couldn't afford to play along with Ethan's dramatic antics this time. Meanwhile, I was in the apartment my father had gifted me before my marriage. "Ethan, that's enough!" My best friend Sam couldn't take my moping anymore. "I'm divorced now," I lamented. "I'm only 25, but I've become an unwanted divorce, and my value has plummeted. I know I'll get married again, but if I can't find someone wealthier than Clara, everyone will mock me." "Let's go out for drinks tonight," Sam suggested. "My brother's new bar just opened, and it's filled with the city's most beautiful women." I looked up from the floor. "Are they really that pretty? Prettier than Clara?" "Okay, maybe not prettier," he conceded, "but at least they're younger, more lively, and ready to make you happy. Haven't you heard? College girls are softer than water." Sam was getting annoyed, pulling me up from the floor. "Come on, why don't you change into a nice suit and we'll go let loose?" I hesitated for a moment, then agreed. It had been 2 years and 1 month since I had last worn a suit. Before marrying Clara, I was full of life every single day. I first met her on a blind date that my father's people had practically dragged me to. It was the peak of summer, and she showed up in full business attire, looking as if she had just stepped out of a high-stakes negotiation. As for me, I had highlighted hair. My dad nearly had a stroke when he saw me walk in, and he struggled to say anything nice about me to Clara. She didn't react much. She simply stood up and pulled out a chair for me. I had no intention of getting married, so I was completely carefree, eating and drinking without any attempt to act like a mature, responsible man. My dad was sending me signals with his eyes that were so intense they could have popped out, but I just ignored him. After the meal, Clara politely offered to drive me home. Her reserved nature didn't seem to mesh with my youthful playfulness, so I figured there was no chance of anything happening between us. To my surprise, Clara asked me out a few more times after that. My dad was ecstatic, convinced that she had a good impression of me and that the marriage could actually work. I yelled at my dad, "She likes me, but I don't like her. She's like an old cow trying to eat young grass." My dad shut me down with a single sentence. "Your rival, Mark, is desperate to marry her, and he's already trying to get matchmakers involved." The thought of Mark wanting her immediately riled me up. If Mark wanted something, I had to have it first. I started dating Clara with the intention of one-upping him, but within a few months, I had fallen completely and utterly in love with her. My young heart burned with a passion that consumed my entire being. She calmly took over my world, molding me into the man my father had always dreamed I would become. I changed for her, and I was happy to do it. Then, one day, I found a photograph on her computer. It was a picture of her and Julian from their school days. Julian was as handsome as his name suggested, standing in the photo between Clara and another girl who seemed to fade into the background. The way Julian was smiling at Clara held my gaze. It turned out Clara didn't like me, Ethan. It turned out that even someone like Clara had a classic first love. I was so head over heels for her back then that I didn't even have the courage to ask her about it. I was terrified that if I questioned her, the beautiful soap bubble of my happiness would pop, and I would be the one holding the pin. Besides, Julian had gotten married before Clara and I tied the knot, so deep down I felt a small sense of relief. But now, Julian was divorced and back in town. I thought about how Clara was likely comforting him last night, staying with him all night, and I couldn't stop the tears from welling up. Sam pulled me into the closet and grabbed a flashy silk shirt, stuffing it into my arms. Then, he mysteriously handed me a new jacket. "Try this on. Look at you, you've lost weight and you're all skin and bones. Put this on, and even a gay guy would go straight for you." Holding the shirt, I sniffled and looked at Sam. "I don't know, man. I'm not a teenager anymore. Shouldn't I tone it down a bit?" Sam practically rolled his eyes at me. "Ethan, you're only 25. A young man at 25. You can save the growing up for when you're 52, okay?" And so there we were, two 25-year-old guys, one in black and one in white, strutting into the bar. At first, I felt a bit shy. I had been so reserved and proper for 2 years that suddenly letting loose felt strange. But after a drink, my perspective shifted. I had already signed the divorce papers, and I was sure Clara couldn't wait to sign them too. Next Monday, a quick trip to the Civil Affairs Bureau, and we would be done for good. She probably only married me so suddenly back then because Julian's marriage had shaken her up. I pouted, holding back tears and pulling my collar down a bit. I felt a little unsteady as Sam and I made our way to the dance floor. In the middle of the dance floor, packed with people dancing closely together, girls with girls, guys with guys, I soon rediscovered that carefree feeling I had lost. A pretty girl came over to chat with me. I gave her a sideways glance. She looked decent, and her eyes were strangely similar to Clara's. I grabbed her by the collar, and her hand immediately wrapped around my waist. We started dancing close, just like everyone else around us. I wasn't quite used to being this close to a stranger, so I instinctively wanted to push her hand away. But suddenly, the music stopped. Everyone looked around in surprise as a group of men in black suits, looking exactly like bodyguards, poured into the bar. The servers and bar security were quickly pushed into a corner. The bodyguards came straight toward us, surrounding the dance floor. "What's going on?" "Yeah, what's happening? Who are they after?" The shock sobered me up instantly. They had to be here for me. I knew it because I saw Clara striding through the crowd. She wasn't wearing her glasses. Her face was incredibly stern, and my heart clenched in my chest. I instinctively wanted to hide behind someone, but Clara's gaze had already sliced through the crowd and landed directly on my face. I was too scared to meet her eyes, so I turned to run. "Ethan!" Clara called my name, and I know her well. The angrier she is, the calmer her voice becomes. Shortly after we were married, I secretly had a drink, and when she caught me, she called my name in that exact same tone. That night was unforgettable. I had to recuperate on the couch for 2 days afterward. But I learned my lesson and was obedient for a long time. Clara seemed pleased and showered me with branded gifts to appease me. My feet felt glued to the floor. It was only then that I remembered the girl's hand was still resting on my waist. In an instant, the hair on my arms stood on end, and I started to tremble. Clara's brow furrowed deeply, her expression fierce. She walked over, and her bodyguards brutally parted the people in front of me. Her eyes traced a slow path from my face, down to my waist, or more precisely, to the girl's hand on my waist. Sensing the imminent danger, I was about to speak up, but Clara suddenly grabbed the girl's wrist and shoved her aside. A small gasp rippled through the crowd. I shrank my neck, my eyes darting around like a frightened quail. I fear Clara's anger, to be honest. Because I love her so much, her mood affects me more than anything else. When she's unhappy, it feels like the sky is falling. But we're getting divorced now, aren't we? That thought gave me a strange surge of courage. I lifted my head to meet her gaze. In the dimly lit club, a single spotlight shone down, illuminating my exposed abs. Clara's assistants and bodyguards respectfully kept their heads down, neatly blocking the view of others. But tonight, plenty of women had already seen me. I had never seen Clara with such a terrifying expression on her face. It almost made me think she looked like someone who had just lost something incredibly precious. But I was never her treasure. My eyes began to fill with tears. I fought against the pain in my heart and stubbornly raised my chin. "Clara, what's up?" Clara stared at me for a few seconds, then suddenly took off her own jacket, stepping forward to wrap it around me. I twisted away, trying to shake off the jacket, but she held me tight. "Ethan, whatever it is, let's talk about it at home." I could feel that Clara was holding back her temper for my sake, but that just made me feel even more wronged. She had probably come to find me only because she thought I was embarrassing her. After all, we weren't officially divorced yet, so technically I was still her husband. "Clara, I'm not going back with you," I refused, breaking free from her grasp. Clara furrowed her brow, holding my shoulder through her jacket to keep me from shrugging it off. "Ethan, how long are you going to keep this up?" "I'm not acting up. I've made up my mind. The divorce papers are signed, Clara. Can't you read or something?" A dead silence fell over the crowd. Even Clara's close assistants and bodyguards were staring at me in astonishment. Once again, I shook off her hand, yanked the jacket off my shoulders, and hurled it back at her. "So, we're done. You can stop meddling in my life." That move, without a doubt, was the final straw. Her face became even sterner, and I was genuinely scared. I feared that I had embarrassed her so much that she would lose control and hit me. Though, in all the time we had been married, she had never once raised her voice at me. I bit down on my lip, stubbornly refusing to back down. But I couldn't bring myself to look at Clara anymore. Looking at her made me feel wronged. Seeing her made my heart soften, made me reluctant to let go. She was just too beautiful, especially when she was angry, perfectly hitting every note of what I find most attractive in a woman. Thinking back now, there were reasons I used to provoke her, just to see that flash of anger in her eyes. Married to Clara for 2 years, I was still completely caught up in the honeymoon phase. My infatuation with her only grew deeper with each passing day. She has this calm, quiet vibe, and doesn't like to laugh much. My dad calls it a sign of a mature woman, steady and composed. But I know better. She just doesn't like me. Well, maybe not completely dislike. As long as she was home and I wasn't sick, she expected me to fulfill my husbandly duties almost every night. I was diving deep into it, all the while painfully aware that I was walking off a cliff. The day would come when she no longer needed me, and I would be shattered into a million pieces. I fear pain and am terrified of dying, even more so now that I have $20 million and can't afford to die. I need to stay away from her, stop falling for her tricks. I fought back tears, took a deep breath, and looked away. "Clara, if you know what's good for you, you should leave. A place like this doesn't suit someone like you." Any misstep, and her dad would scold me for being petty, for not being a good match for her, for embarrassing their family. I hadn't set foot in a bar for 2.5 years. But now, I'm not her husband anymore. She can't say a single word about it. Maybe I looked like I was on the verge of tears, and that softened Clara's stance a bit. "Ethan, you're giving me the silent treatment. Are you going to tell me why?" "Why?" She had the nerve to ask why. She keeps pictures of herself and her first love on her computer. She used her company's top legal team to help Julian with his international divorce case. On my birthday last year, she claimed she had a work meeting abroad, but Leo found a photo Julian posted on Twitter. While I celebrated my birthday alone, she was having tea with Julian. She turned me into a substitute, a Julian 2.0 comma to soothe her own heartache. She carries another man in her heart, while exhausting me every night. The moment Julian returned from his divorce, she didn't come home for the first time. Now that I've done what I had to do, she's questioning why. My heart ached with all this unjust treatment, and the words were stuck in my throat. All I could do was let my tears fall. Maybe seeing me cry so miserably softened Clara's stance a little. "Ethan, come back home with me." She draped her coat over me again. I pushed her away forcefully. "Clara, don't touch me! Your touch makes me sick." She remained silent, her face stern and accusatory, as if I were the one who had cheated and ruined the marriage. I didn't want to see her anymore. I turned and stumbled away with Sam. Clara didn't follow. Just as I was leaving, I heard her phone ring. Her voice was soft, but to me it was grating. It was probably Julian. So there would be no burdens for their meeting tonight. I crashed at Sam's place that night. After a shower, I threw myself onto the bed, shut my phone off, cried it all out, and slept like a log. Sam is a good friend. He knows when I need my space. He only brought me food and asked no questions. I was up bright and early on Monday, showered, and put on a new suit. Sam offered to drive me to the registration office, but I refused. This was something Clara and I had to do ourselves, tying up the final loose ends, even if it was for a divorce. Though I looked carefree on the outside, nobody knew how torn up I felt inside. Before leaving, I checked my phone. There were loads of texts, Instagram messages, and missed calls. Clara had only sent one message the other night. "Ethan, Monday, 9 a.m. Meet you at the registration office." Seeing it almost set me off again. My hand shook as I held the phone. But I had to look my best for this divorce. My rival, Mark, was probably eager to poke fun, and that little snake, Leo, would be ready to join in. Even if I ended up a divorce, I was determined to be the sharpest dressed one in town. Leo and I weren't always enemies. After I married Clara, we would sometimes play basketball together. I even got him little gifts. Once, he really wanted the jade watch Clara had given me. He nagged me so much that I finally handed it over, even though it stung a little. When Clara saw him wearing the watch, she said one thing: "Give the watch back to your brother-in-law. You're not as fair-skinned as him. You can't pull it off." That one sentence wrecked everything between Leo and me. For guys, it only takes one "you don't stack up" comment to create lifelong rivals. He hadn't missed a single opportunity to mess with me over the past 2 years. I always let it slide. But now, if he tried another move, I wasn't holding back. I took a deep breath, got my emotions in check, and headed for the car. I arrived at the registration office at 8:40. Clara, always punctual, wouldn't be late by even a minute for a 9 a.m. appointment. Sure enough, at 9 sharp, her Bentley pulled up. She stepped out and made a beeline for my car. I walked into the registration office, ignoring her presence entirely. Clara walked with me to the lobby. We were the only couple there for a divorce today. "Clara, did you clear the place out again?" I recalled Sam murmuring this morning that his brother's bar had been temporarily shut down for disrupting familial harmony. It was a completely bogus reason, but with Clara pulling the strings, there was nothing to be done. Sam had joked that Clara did it as some kind of romantic gesture for me, but I had no such illusions. Her family was all about maintaining their precious public image. Have you signed the papers yet? I asked her, my chin held high. Clara didn't look so great. Why the sudden divorce? She asked, not answering my question but throwing one back at me. It's not sudden. I've been thinking about it for a while, I said, my voice calm now. Ethan, did you fall for someone else? Seriously. She was the one who messed up first, and now she was trying to pin it on me? Clara, don't you dare. She looked at me so calmly. If that's not it, then why the divorce? Do I have to air your dirty laundry in public? My foot tapped impatiently against the floor. What supposed dirty laundry of mine? Her brows arched slightly, her voice still infuriatingly calm. Shameless, utterly shameless. I wanted to slap her with all my strength. Because of Julian. I felt like I'd been struck in my most vulnerable spot and fell silent instantly. I pursed my lips, my eyes turning red as I looked at her. Yes, because of Julian. What does he have to do with this? He's back in the country and getting divorced, and you're planning on tagging along with him? Ethan, I can tolerate my husband's whims, his occasional mischief, even if he gets into some trouble outside, but there are limits. She seemed tired, raising a hand to rub her brow. You've caused enough trouble. You should come back with me now. It felt like I was watching my own heart being tossed to the ground and stomped on. So I was still the one causing trouble? She still thought I was just being unreasonable. I didn't know how to make her understand. Clara, Ethan doesn't want to love you anymore. He doesn't want to be your husband. He doesn't want to be unloved, to be an afterthought to you. But seeing her looking a bit tired now still made me sad. I saw her wearing the shirt I had picked out, the ribbon I had bought for her. Even her underwear and socks were ones I had hand-washed for her. I haven't even washed my own dad's socks. I love her so much. She only needed to call me her husband again, or hug me one more time, and I would have caved in disgracefully. But she was too lazy to even appease me. Julian was back, and a woman only shows gentleness and patience to the man she truly loves. Ethan, you're pathetic. Your wife doesn't love you. Her affair with Julian was suffocating me. I took a deep breath, clinging to the last shred of my dignity, lifting my chin to maintain my composure. Clara, how many times do I have to say it before you get it? I want a divorce and there's no negotiating. Ethan, you better think this through. Divorce isn't a game. I know, Clara. From the moment I brought up divorce with you, I was completely clear-headed about it, and I'm not changing my mind. She looked at me deeply, and then, after a moment, she laughed to herself. I didn't know why she suddenly laughed like that, and I no longer had the mental energy to figure it out, because she said, "All right." The divorce process went quickly since I wasn't asking for any of her assets, so it was straightforward. When the staff member stamped our divorce papers, Clara gave me one last look. "Ethan," she started, but I cut her off. I was in a haze. "Please hurry, I'm in a rush." She didn't speak again. We got our divorce certificates quickly. With mine in hand, I put on my sunglasses and walked briskly out of the building. Clara seemed to be behind me the whole time, but maybe I was just imagining it. Since there's only one exit, she would naturally take the same path. I got in my car and drove away without looking in her direction. It wasn't until I hit a stoplight at an intersection that the reality of the situation finally hit me. Looking at the divorce certificate on the passenger seat, I finally broke down, gripping the steering wheel and crying my heart out. I was holding up the cars behind me, but I couldn't care less. It wasn't until a traffic cop approached my window that I managed to pull myself together and drive away. I went back to my apartment, the one my dad had bought for me before the marriage. After a shower and a change into comfortable clothes, I sat on the couch, hugging a teddy bear and staring blankly at the wall. Not even 10 minutes passed before my phone started ringing off the hook. I didn't want to look at it or answer, but whoever was calling wouldn't give up. Not even for a second. My head was splitting, forcing me to reach for the phone just to turn it off. Then a name appeared on the screen. Mark. Instantly, every fighting fiber in my being woke up. I clutched the phone like a crouching beast, fierce and ready for a fight. Mark wanted to see me, Ethan, make a fool of myself, not in this lifetime. I hit the answer button, ready to throw down, completely on edge, but what Mark said was something I could never have seen coming. Ethan, you're insane, right? You divorced Clara for Chloe? I was floored. What Chloe? Why would it be because of Chloe? Chloe and I had broken up ages ago. She was my first love, but I was too young then to really understand what love was. I had pretty much forgotten all about her. Ethan, are you out of your mind? Chloe just announced her split from her husband and is back in town to start a business. And at the same time you divorced Clara? Mark was beyond worked up on the other end of the line. Why was he so mad about my divorce? Shouldn't this be good news for him, since he liked Clara so much? Ethan, how could you? The woman I've wanted to marry, even if I had to beg. And you just marry her and then ditch her like it's nothing. Why her and not me? It's just because you're a little better looking, a bit more handsome. But what else do you have on me? Why would Clara rebound with you and not me after getting her heart broken? So it turns out, everyone knew her sudden marriage to me was because of a heartbreak. Everyone except for me. I was completely clueless, joyfully marrying her, playing the part of a husband. The night before our wedding, I was so excited I couldn't stop tossing and turning. Thinking back on it now, everyone in this entire city must have been looking at me like I was an idiot. I hung up the phone. At this point, I couldn't even cry anymore. I stared blankly at the teddy bear in front of me. It was a gift from our year of dating, something I had asked Clara to give me. She thought it was childish and absurd, but she still bought it for me. I treasured it. I couldn't sleep without it. But now screw it. I don't even want you, teddy bear. I grabbed it by the ear and jumped up to throw it out the door. But as soon as I opened the door, Chloe was standing there, her face soulful and graceful. She beamed a bright smile at me and opened her arms to hug me. Ethan, I'm back. As she hugged me, the elevator doors behind her slowly opened. Clara's figure gradually came into view. The teddy bear I was holding slipped from my grip and hit the floor with a soft thud. Ethan, what's going on? Chloe asked gently, her voice soft. I was frozen in place. Words failed me. I couldn't lift a hand to push her away. I could only stand there, staring at the emotionless expression on Clara's face. Chloe eventually sensed that something was wrong, let go of me, and turned to look behind her. Her warm, smiling eyes met Clara's, and the smile slowly vanished. Clara's eyes held a thin layer of frost that could freeze anyone instantly. I started trembling, stumbling backward to try and shut the door and hide. But Chloe, ever the chaos stirrer, grabbed my wrist. Instinctively, I glanced at Clara. Her face was so thunderous it was terrifying, her lips pressed into a tight, thin line. I could feel she was gritting her teeth. Ethan, Clara called my name, but didn't say anything else. Suddenly, it was as if I had been shocked by electricity, and I quickly let go of Chloe's hand. It's not what you think. I didn't know she was at the door, I stammered, trying to explain, but the more I rushed, the less sense I made. Clara, I really had no idea how to explain how these two women had just happened to show up back to back. One was my recently divorced ex-wife, and the other was my old first love. And of course, even Mark thought I had divorced Clara because of Chloe. As fate would have it, Clara had just caught me hugging Chloe right after our divorce. I was at my wit's end with everything that had been happening, completely drained. So I just threw my hands up in the air and yelled at them, "I don't care anymore! Think whatever you want!" After I shouted, I turned to head back into the apartment, but suddenly everything started spinning wildly in front of me. At that moment, scenes from hundreds of cheesy romance novels with overly dramatic plots flooded my mind. I just let myself flop down, smartly aiming my fall toward my teddy bear on the ground. In case neither of them decided to catch me in slow motion, I'd at least have a soft landing. "Ethan!" I heard Chloe calling frantically as I closed my eyes, but the arms that caught me had that familiar scent of tobacco and a hint of lime. Just as I was about to hit the ground, they steadied me. It was Clara's embrace. With that, a wave of relief washed over me, and I kept my eyes shut until we were in the car. Clara sternly told the driver to head to the hospital, and I finally opened my eyes, tugging lightly on her sleeve. Clara looked down at me. I wriggled out of her hold. "I was faking it," I admitted. "I'm fine, really. No need for a hospital." Clara's face was seriously scary. My gaze shifted away as I explained. It was a misunderstanding earlier. I didn't know she was outside my door. She hugged me the moment I opened it, and I didn't even have time to push her away before you showed up. "And you're explaining this to me?" "Well, yeah. I can't just get slapped with an affair accusation out of nowhere." I looked her directly in the eyes. "And for the record, after Chloe and I broke up, we had no contact. The divorce has nothing to do with her." "Protecting her now, are you?" "What are you even talking about? I'm just speaking the truth." "Ethan, you better not be lying to me." Clara's voice was icy. "If there's nothing wrong, get out." My heart felt a sharp sting just then. I bit my lip, glanced at her, and then silently opened the car door and left. I didn't turn back, so I didn't see Clara watching my back through the window, her gaze lingering long after I had disappeared from view. I was in a funk for the entire next week. Chloe kept trying to reach out, but I refused to see her. I stayed cooped up inside until Sam asked me to go clothes shopping with him. We both went a little crazy and bought a ton of stuff. It's true, shopping doesn't just make women happy, it works on us guys too. Suddenly, there he was. Julian appeared out of nowhere. I looked up to see him giving me an apologetic look. "Ethan?" he called my name. "But we're not close, so why was he calling me like we were old buddies? Do you need something?" "Can we talk?" "Nope." "Ethan, I know you must really hate me." Julian's voice had a slight tremor. I changed my tone to be friendly. "Julian, what do you want to talk about? Over there seems quiet. Let's go." Julian nodded obediently. "Sure, I'll follow your lead." I exchanged a look with Sam, and both of us saw the same word in each other's eyes. Impressive. No wonder Clara cared so much about him. This soft, puppy dog type. If I were a girl, I'd probably like him too. Feeling a bit jealous, I thought about how silly my own attempts to play cute must have seemed to Clara. Julian was so natural, so smooth. No wonder that even after over 2 years of marriage, Clara still hadn't fallen for me. I followed behind Julian. "Ethan, I know it's my fault that you and Clara got divorced." Julian got straight to the point. I smiled. "Yeah, it's all thanks to you." Julian paused, but soon his eyes were getting all teary as he gently held my hand. "Ethan, please don't get it wrong. Clara and I are just old classmates. All the things she's done for me were just friendly gestures for an old friend. And whatever little there was between us was ages ago. You really shouldn't sweat it. But believe me, when I heard you were getting divorced, my heart was heavy with guilt. If my situation caused a rift between you and her, I'd never forgive myself. Since you understand it so well, why did you stay so close to a married woman? If you're feeling so guilty, why did you let her spend the night with you? Is sleeping with someone else's wife that thrilling?" Evan froze again. "Ethan, you've misunderstood." "Misunderstood what? That you two were just under the same sheets, talking?" I was just feeling down because of my divorce. Plus, I was struggling with the whole adjustment of moving back. Clara stayed because she was worried. Tears looked ready to spill from Julian's eyes. Ethan, you must not misunderstand. Clara and I are clean. We didn't do anything wrong. If we were ever going to be what you think, I would have married her back then. Ethan, Clara is really busy now with her career. This is not the time to mess things up for her. You're 25 now, not a kid anymore. Clara used to say you were just young and naive, but after 2 years of marriage, it's time to grow up. Julian was earnestly advising me. Frankly, if I didn't know he was my ex's lover, I might have been moved. Even my own dad wasn't this patient. Are you done? Do you have anything else to add? If not, I'm out of here. Ethan, I'm just trying to help. I don't want to see your marriage fall apart. Clara is one of the most important people in my life, and I want her to be happy. We've already divorced, Julian. If you want to make her happy, go ahead and be her second husband. Marry her, she'll be thrilled, her dad will be happy, and her brother, who gets along so well with you, will be happy too. You guys will be one big happy family. Go ahead, Julian. Join their family and make life harmonious again. Congratulations. I'm already clapping for you. I kept smiling at him. Yet, my hands behind my back were clenched so tight it hurt. The pain almost killed me, but I wouldn't cry in front of him. Clara had told her first love that I was worthless. Sure, I'm childish, immature, and inexperienced, but who made you marry me? Who made you promise to be good to me and take care of me? Later, you started to see me as too immature. But in these 2 years of marriage, I diligently made breakfast, handled chores, and even did laundry for Leo. I shopped with your mom, carried her bags, played cards with her, and poured her water. I went with your dad for his checkups and learned to make soup for him. When you drank too much, I made hangover soup for you. When you traveled for work, I missed you so much that I cried at night. But I would never disturb your work. I didn't even dare to video call you. In 2 years of marriage, you spent so little time at home. My world shifted from revolving around you to revolving around your entire family. Even when they treated me badly, I endured it because I loved you. Every so often, I acted a little spoiled, wanting a bit of tenderness from my wife. But you always seemed so distant, only kind when you wanted something from me. Once we were out of bed, you were cold and businesslike again. How am I supposed to mature and understand things better? These 2 years haven't been happy, and now that I've decided to get a divorce, your flirty side guy is being sarcastically mean to me. Why should I have to put up with that? Julian, if you keep provoking me, I might just snap and show you what I can do. Even a clay doll has some spirit. But Julian didn't give me the chance. Maybe what I said really got to him. He turned pale and started crying so miserably that I was at a loss and turned to Sam for help. Julian reached out to me, and I instinctively thought he might hit me, so I pushed his arm away. He stumbled and crumpled to the floor. Sam rushed over, and we were about to help him up when Julian moaned softly, "Ethan, please, call an ambulance." Sam quickly looked at me, and in that brief moment of shock, everything clicked into place for me. Clara and Julian hadn't just rekindled their old flame that one night. They had met up last year on my birthday when she was abroad. This year, Clara had even gone abroad again on a business trip. She had worked her heart out helping Julian with his divorce case, both financially and otherwise. So, Julian and her? All my forced bravery, acting like I didn't care, being carefree, it all shattered in that one moment. I stood there, my eyes blurred. My tears flowed freely, but my throat felt like it was being gripped by an invisible hand, choking me, making it impossible to cry out or make a sound. The grip was so tight I couldn't breathe, and my heart twisted painfully. I couldn't imagine those images, couldn't bear to think of her with Julian. I couldn't think of how she might have kissed him, or how she might have whispered words of love to him in intimate moments. Julian was taken to the hospital, and a nurse wheeled him in for tests. When I returned from the restroom, I saw Clara rushing out of the elevator and heading toward the examination room, her back radiating worry and urgency. I suddenly felt weak and had to lean against the wall for support. Only when she was out of sight did I turn around and leave, completely defeated. On my way back, my mom called. "Ethan, why on earth are you divorcing Clara?" She sounded exhausted. Her business had been relying on Clara's family connections, and now that we were divorced, some of her deals had fallen through, costing her about $20 million. "Ethan," she said, her voice strained. "What am I supposed to do?" I stood by the side of the road, the harsh sun beating down on me. If it's not meant to be, there's no helping it. I got $20 million from the divorce, and I gave it all back to my mom to cover her losses. Even that wasn't enough. Without Clara as a daughter-in-law, my mom's business plummeted. I couldn't bear the thought of her struggling at her age, so I started job hunting. I had majored in design, but lacked practical experience, and most of my applications were rejected by HR. Thankfully, one mid-sized advertising agency gave me a chance. The pay during my probation period was low, and the work was tough. Growing up, my mom had coddled me since my dad passed away early. She never remarried, fearing that a stepfather would mistreat me. She raised me all on her own, and never allowed hardship to touch me. This had made me somewhat spoiled. The job was grueling, but I pushed through it. Yet, the inner pain was hard to shake, especially when Leo found ways to message me with photos of Julian's Twitter posts. In one, Julian looked blissfully content, with the caption, "Safe and sound, grateful for someone like you in my life, always by my side." I expressionlessly blocked the number. After that, Leo, who was usually restless, became mysteriously quiet. I buried myself in overtime, hoping not to dwell on things alone. During a break one day, Sam was about to call Clara after finding out she was 5 weeks pregnant. I was shocked and fainted on the spot. In his excitement, Sam wanted to call Clara, but I tightly gripped his hand, stopping him. In her eyes, I'm just as insignificant as her dad says, let alone my kid. She doesn't love me, and she won't love the baby inside her. If you tell her, she'll just think I'm trying to be like Julian again. Sam looked at my pale face and couldn't help but cry. I wanted to comfort him, but as soon as I opened my mouth, tears just burst out. I don't want this kid. I don't want them to never get the perfect love, just like me. But I can't let go. It's Clara's and my baby. If it's a boy, maybe Clara might love him a little? If it's a girl, would she be as pretty as Clara? I curled up tightly. I was scared to keep thinking. Chloe came to see me. Maybe Sam had told her. She still wanted to get back together. But I rejected her without even thinking. Ethan, can't you forgive me? Chloe stood by the bed, heartbroken. Chloe, I've always told you, the thing I hate the most in this life is betrayal, being abandoned. When you got with that guy behind my back, you should have thought of today. Ethan, I've regretted it every single moment these past years. I seriously regret it. I shook my head. You should just leave, Chloe. It's just not possible for us anymore. Chloe slowly raised her hand to cover her face. She knows how I am. I can't tolerate deceit. Otherwise, I wouldn't have insisted on a divorce with Clara. Not long after Chloe left, the door opened again. I didn't open my eyes. I was too tired. Chloe, how many times do I have to say it? I'm not getting back with you. But nobody responded, and the door closed. I opened my eyes suddenly, looking toward the door. Clara was walking over. She was still wearing glasses, probably having just come from the office, and looked a bit tired. She seemed thinner, with faint dark circles under her eyes. I looked away. I knew she must have been staying up late, living unhealthily again. Sam said you were in the hospital. She walked over, sat by my bed, and naturally took my hand. I had an IV drip in, and the hand with the needle was cold. She held it tight, her brows furrowed. Why is it so cold? I closed my eyes, wanting to pull my hand away, but she gently kept it in her palm. Ethan, she called my name, and immediately my nose stung. Even with my eyes closed, tears started to well up, threatening to spill out. The company has been so busy lately, you know? I didn't respond, but she continued. But I just couldn't focus on work. Ethan, these past few days, I didn't come to see you because I've been thinking about why you suddenly wanted a divorce. I still didn't want to talk, but tears slowly rolled down my cheeks. At first, I thought it was because of Chloe. That's why you insisted on the divorce. I was so mad, not thinking clearly, and I agreed. In her voice, there was even a hint of guilt. I couldn't help but look at her. Clara, I know, Ethan. It was my fault for not understanding things. She was holding my hand, looking at me with deep regret in her eyes. I shook my head hard. She just doesn't understand why I demanded a divorce. I'm stubborn like that. I can't tolerate betrayal. I'd rather suffer alone than compromise on these matters. In these 2 years after our marriage, I've been busy with work, neglecting you, and a lot of other things. I kept shaking my head. It's not because of work. I know how important a career is for a woman, too. I've sent Leo abroad for school. His account will only have $500 a month. He'll have to work for anything beyond that. I was shocked. Clara only has this one brother, and they've always been super close. She has been spoiling Leo his whole life. $500 might be enough for an average student, but for the extravagant Leo, it's not enough for even a new coat. If it weren't for you wanting a divorce, maybe I would have kept being in the dark. Clara's face was very stern, but as she looked at me, there was also guilt and compassion in her eyes. I never blamed her for these things because Leo has always been a good actor. Whenever Clara was around, he fooled everyone into thinking we had a great relationship. And because I didn't want her to be distracted by family issues, I never told her about Leo's two-faced behavior. After all, his childish antics didn't really hurt me and I could endure them. But me insisting on a divorce seemed to have popped this bubble. And in his arrogance, Leo had shown his true colors in front of his sister. Whenever he grows up and learns to respect you as his brother-in-law, we can talk about him coming back. You don't have to do this. He just doesn't like me being his brother-in-law. It's not really a big offense. He doesn't like it. Well, he'll have to. He doesn't accept it. Well, he'll have to accept it. My husband is you and only you. Clara. But Julian, you've always liked him, haven't you? Who told you I liked him? She furrowed her brow, reaching out to flick my forehead lightly. Where did you hear those silly things? But didn't you have pictures saved on your computer with him? And you even helped him with his divorce case? Last year on my birthday, you said you were on a business trip, but you were having afternoon tea with him. I didn't even get a happy birthday from you. I'm stubborn and proud, with a silly little ego that just wouldn't let me ask such questions directly. Pictures? Yeah, the ones in your computer's saved photos folder. He's smiling so sweetly at you. You mean this one? She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo, the same one saved on her computer. I nodded hard. Yeah, that one. Clara actually smiled. She rarely smiled. She's always been so rigid and serious. She's cold as ice, too. In over 2 years of being married to her, I could count the number of times she had laughed on one hand. I couldn't help but feel a bit dazed looking at her. Clara lifted her hand to take off her glasses and shook her head, chuckling. Then she reached out and touched my forehead, my hair, calling me a fool. That fool had a loving tone that made me feel all fuzzy inside. Take a good look at this photo again. In the background, who's that in the top left corner? She said. Hearing that, I quickly wiped my tears away and focused hard. In the top left corner, there seemed to be a couple. The girl was dressed in a tank top and a pleated skirt, a pretty trendy look, and the guy next to her was tall, handsome, and stylish. They looked like a great match. But what shocked me was, is that me? I was stunned. How could I possibly be in this photo? Wait a minute. The person next to me, that looks like Chloe. This must have been during my college days when I was dating Chloe. Confused and surprised, I asked, "Clara, what's going on here?" She explained calmly. "I was at the university handling some business, just passing by the playground when I saw you. I was about to say hi, but then your girlfriend showed up." Her voice was light, but strangely, I sensed a bit of jealousy in it. "You're bluffing. I didn't even know you back then. We only met during a blind date," I accused her. Clara fixed her gaze on me. "Ethan, you broke your promise first. You forgot about me." I was completely lost. But Clara seemed a little upset, her demeanor shifting back to her usual coolness. "If you can't remember, then forget it. Just rest well," she added before attempting to leave. I instinctively grabbed her sleeve. "Clara." Then I remembered we had been divorced. I let go quickly. Clara looked at her watch. "I have an important meeting to get back to. You stay put here in the hospital. I'll pick you up in the afternoon, and we'll see the doctor together." As she got up to leave, I couldn't hold back my question. "Clara, is Julian really hospitalized?" She looked back at me. "Yes." My heart sank. Sitting on the hospital bed in blue-striped pajamas suddenly made me feel very small and vulnerable. Clara's gaze softened as she came over and touched my face. "Don't overthink things. Just rest. The hospital got Julian in just in time. He's fine now. Don't think too much about it. Even if something had happened, it wouldn't be your concern." Did she think I was worried about Julian's safety? I was too upset to talk and pushed her away, telling her to hurry to her meeting. She looked like she actually was in a rush, so she just told me to rest before leaving. Everything felt chaotic inside my head. I couldn't just stay in the hospital, not with her coming back to see the doctor with me. I didn't want to see her, so I got dressed, left the hospital, and went back home. I must have been really exhausted because I fell asleep as soon as I took a shower and lay down. When I woke up, there were faint sounds coming from outside my room. I rushed to get up and open my bedroom door. Awake? Clara was standing by the dining table, looking at me. No shoes again. She walked over, looked down at my bare feet, and frowned slightly before turning to get me some slippers. While she was kneeling to help me put them on, I murmured her name. "Clara. The night Julian returned to the country, were you two together?" She finished slipping on the slippers, then pulled me to sit by the table. "Ethan, I was working overtime at the office the whole night." "You didn't lie?" "I never have." She brushed her hand gently against my face. "Ethan, you never wanted to believe me. On your birthday last year, you said you were on a business trip." "That was true. Meeting him was an accident. He asked for a lawyer recommendation for his divorce case. That's how we ended up staying in touch." I didn't know who to believe. The way she said it, I had little choice but to believe her. Yet, Julian's Twitter posts, full of innuendo, indicated something else. Suddenly, I thought of something and went to grab my phone. Leo had sent me some screenshots that I had saved but never dared to open. "Take a look at these." I opened the screenshots and showed them to Clara. She went through them silently, then took out her own phone. I watched her bring up Julian's profile. Julian's social media was set to show only posts from the last 6 months, but his latest post was missing. Clearly, he had blocked Clara from seeing it when he posted it. I began to understand. Even if Clara wasn't interested in Julian, it was apparent that Julian had feelings for her. When we met, I had confronted him about spending a night with another man's wife, and he had hesitated before following my lead. It made sense now. Clara hadn't lied to me. She hadn't been with Julian that night. Clara's expression seemed a little displeased. Women clearly hate games like that from men. Maybe he's trying to rekindle an old flame. I couldn't help but feel a bit jealous. After all, Clara and Julian had been college classmates. Leo had told me they were once close. Old flame? Clara looked at me, annoyed. He and my best friend were the campus couple in college, the one standing next to him in that photo. I only helped him because of that connection. She looked at me deeply. Later, she passed away due to an accident. Before she died, she asked me to look after Julian. His wife in America cheated on him while she was pregnant. That's why I lent him our company's top lawyer. I immediately regretted my assumptions and apologized. I'm sorry, Clara. I thought, what goes through that head of yours all day? Clara seemed irritated, pinching my face. Ethan, I can barely handle one of you, and you think I want someone else? Her pinch hurt a bit, and I protested. I'm the one who's struggling with you. Her gaze softened. Suddenly scared, I covered my mouth. Since our divorce battle, we hadn't been intimate. I knew she had quite the appetite for it. I guess dinner can wait, Clara said, taking me by the hand and heading towards the bedroom. My heart raced. Just as she was starting to unbutton her shirt, I whispered, Clara, you're pregnant, right? We can't do this, can we? Her hands stopped. Lying in my arms, she bit her lip nervously, my fingers twisted together behind her back like a pretzel. Ethan. So, you fainted because you found out about all this? She rubbed my lower back, her long fingers sliding down my spine, hugging me tighter bit by bit. Why didn't you tell me? I was mad at you back then. I thought you and Julian had a kid together. Ethan? Clara sounded frustrated and upset. Do you even have a clue? What? I'm your wife, and other men have nothing to do with me. Clara, then tell me, did you marry me because you like me? I was getting all confused. If Clara said any sweet words to me right now, I'd probably happily count money for her, even if she sold me. Of course not. Clara's words yanked me right out of my daydream. Because you're silly. Clara seemed pretty exasperated. Ethan, did you burn your brains out in a high fever when you were a kid? A woman like her, so capable, she has everything under her control now. Even though her marriage might not be totally free, she still holds the reins. My family isn't poor, but compared to Clara's family, we're nothing special. Why would Clara marry me? My mom's business even relies on them. We can't offer her any help. I hugged her tight all of a sudden. Clara, could it be that you've been crushing on me all along? That's why you kept that old photo that's not even a proper photo of us together. Just as I said that, Clara cupped my face with her hands and kissed me. I wanted to say something else, but she kissed me deeper. Pretty soon I was totally out of it, feeling all weak, and couldn't think of anything else. In the end, we didn't go any further. Clara lay on the pillow, blushing, while I went to the bathroom for a cold shower. Listening to the splashing water, I couldn't help but smile. Remembering the sweet moments earlier, the next day I took Clara for her checkup. We had just arrived at the OB/GYN's office when we bumped into Julian. His face lit up at first, but as soon as he saw me, it turned gloomy, and he looked all pitiful. Clara. But he quickly forced a smile and came over to us. I didn't really like him, but since I was holding on to Clara's waist, even with Julian there, I didn't loosen my grip, so there was no reason to get upset. I'm usually not one to hold grudges. Some say it means I'm carefree, others say I'm just naive and shrug off any trouble. Julian acted like I wasn't even there, chatting away with Clara. Clara, in a few days, our old college classmates are having a reunion. You're coming, right? I haven't seen our old group in ages. Maybe not. Why not? Is the company keeping you too busy? I'm pregnant and need Ethan to be with me more, Clara said with a casual smile. Anything else? We're heading in for a checkup. Julian went pale, clearly not expecting this news, which left him speechless for a bit. Clara pulled me toward the exam room, ignoring Julian's stunned voice. "Clara, you guys didn't get divorced. Then what's with Ethan?" he stammered, purposely being unclear as usual, his typical trick. I stayed quiet. Julian's mess was Clara's to sort out. "What are you trying to say? Or do you think I, Clara, am dumb enough to be played like that?" Clara's words stung a bit. "Clara, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just worried about you getting tricked." Julian put on that sad puppy face again. I shook my head and said calmly, "My wife does need to worry about getting tricked, wouldn't you say, Julian?" "Ethan, what do you mean? Clara and we've known each other for years. Why would I deceive her?" I didn't respond, just smiled at Clara, and Julian realized his slip-up, looking a bit regretful. "Back then, you and Sam only dated, and when Sam left, he asked me to watch over you. These years I've done my part. Julian, I just found out I'm pregnant. I need to rest without getting upset, so please avoid saying misleading things around him in the future. Oh, and maybe cut back on those misunderstanding tweets." Finishing her piece, Clara didn't wait for Julian's reply and led me right into the exam room. By the time we were done, Julian was gone. "He probably won't bother you again," Clara said, gently fixing my hair. "Ethan, from now on, no matter what happens, we need to communicate well." "But you were always so busy, coming home late at night and leaving early in the morning, not giving me much time to see you." Probably because of that, she didn't quite know that her family wasn't too fond of me. Her mom's presence kept her dad polite, even if he didn't like me. Clara looked at me for a while, then pulled me close. "I've got the Tim Garden villa ready for us. From today we'll move and live on our own." "Clara." I didn't expect her to say that. She was an only daughter, and now with Leo sent abroad, she was her parents' only child here. "I used to neglect things after marrying you. I didn't care for you well, and I let you suffer." Clara lifted her hand, gently brushing my slightly red eyes. "Ethan, I'm really sorry." Tears welled up immediately. "Clara, I don't blame you. I could have done better too. If I were more mature and understanding, maybe your dad would appreciate me more." "None of that really matters. As long as I like it, that's enough for me." Clara gently wiped my tears, but more just kept coming. "Clara, am I just too childish? I can't be mature and independent like those other guys. You don't need to be like them. Just be Ethan." Suddenly, Clara laughed and lifted her head slightly, her nose brushing against mine. "You silly goose. Do you think any wife would want her husband to be seen like that by others?" "But I was wrong before. Going forward, anything you like. I won't interfere." Besides, there's another reason Clara isn't too keen on letting Ethan know. In college, Ethan always dressed trendy, and Chloe was super outgoing. They truly looked good together. So, after Clara started dating Ethan through a blind date, she used a little strategy to make Ethan naturally change his style. Ethan thought Clara liked the gentle, preppy look, but for Clara, it was about erasing anything connected to Chloe. She looked at the guy in front of her, the one who cried at his dad's tombstone in the pouring rain, the boy who had softened her heart and stayed in her thoughts. He had finally become her husband and would soon be the father of their child. She wanted him to stay innocent forever, to always be childlike. She would protect all his beautiful qualities under the sky she had created for him. "So, are you jealous, Clara? Tell me, are you jealous?" I tugged at her collar playfully. "Can't you just admit you're mesmerized by my charm? Worried about other people seeing me, aren't you? Aren't you afraid the baby will laugh at you when they can hear us?" Clara grabbed my hand, amused. "Aren't you hungry? Do you want hot pot?" "It's just a little bean. It doesn't understand anything, I said, intertwining my fingers with hers. She's always the composed and serious type. I've never heard her use bad language. Though she frowned at my slightly rude words, she didn't say anything. I couldn't help but recall our time together, the little things I had missed before, realizing she has always been patient and tolerant. All my little tantrums, my roughness, my messiness, and my forgetfulness. Even though she wasn't home much, each time she did come back, no matter how late, she would kiss me even if I was deeply asleep. And in the morning, before leaving early for work, she'd always give me a peck. In the 2+ years of our marriage, she wakes up at 6 every morning. But I, as her husband, rarely ever woke up early to make her breakfast. I suddenly felt that I was truly inadequate. Stuck in my own emotions, I had magnified grievances and doubts, all while overlooking her silent contributions and tolerance. My insecurities had made me unhappy, and left her frazzled on top of her busy work life. Clara. Getting into the car, I couldn't help but hug her gently. I seldom call her my wife, except in intimate moments where she would insist. I pressed my face against her back, a sweet feeling replacing that strange bitterness. This is the woman I love, my wife, the mother of our child. How lucky am I to have married her? Are you okay? Clara asked, a bit concerned, turning around to hold my shoulders. I shook my head and gestured for a hug. Before, when her feelings for me were uncertain, I would try to act cute. Now that I knew she cared, acting cute became a second instinct. Why are you such a baby? I just want to be with you. I didn't dare to before. Didn't dare? Clara kissed my earlobe. Someone's always been too proud since we got married. No way. Don't take your blessings for granted. You can give this blessing to someone else. I don't want it. It's exhausting. Don't even think about it. It's yours alone. Clara kissed me. Let's grab some food first and we can settle up later. She led me to eat hot pot. Even though she didn't like the greasy environment, because I enjoyed it, she went along. After we had eaten and were ready to leave, I ran into Mark. Mark was there with a few friends, also eating hot pot. The moment he saw Clara and me holding hands, his eyes went a bit teary. We've been married for over 2 years, yet he still hasn't gotten used to it. Mark glared at me, looking like a pouting pufferfish. Honestly, despite our constant bickering, Mark is not the type to play dirty. So really, there's no bad blood between us. But since we were kids, it's been a habit to tease him. Today was no exception. Passing by Mark, who was glaring at me, he asked, "Ethan, you guys made up?" I nodded. "Yep, we did." Though Mark was jealous and upset, he muttered, "Guess you're not entirely stupid." By the way, I said smugly, you mentioned on the phone before that Clara married someone randomly after getting her heart broken. Mark glanced at Clara nervously, as if to explain something, but I carried on. Sorry to inform you, she was heartbroken over me. What are you saying? Mark looked disbelieving, his eyes about to pop out of his head. Lower your voice, you'll scare the baby inside Clara, I whispered, pulling Clara closer, my hands protectively over her belly. Clara willingly collaborated, snuggling against me. Clara? You're pregnant? Mark looked shocked. But didn't they say Clara didn't like you and refused to have your kids? Who said that? I didn't respond first. Clara seemed angry already. Her face was stony, making Mark a bit panicky, and he stammered, They all say that. Leo, too. I only heard it. I didn't say it. You think I, Clara, would marry a man I don't like? Tony shook his head quickly, almost in tears. I tugged on Clara's sleeve. Come on, I'm tired. Let's head home. Clara didn't say anything else and wrapped her arm around me as we left. I turned my head back in her embrace and told Mark, Mark, you're actually really handsome. You'll definitely find a great woman who really likes you. Mark was used to sparring with me and instinctively wanted to snap back, but he held back for Clara's sake. It's funny how being wrapped up in happiness makes you more easygoing. I was even willing to give my lifelong rival a blessing. When Clara hit the 3-month pregnancy mark, the doctor said everything looked great, and the baby was developing well. He subtly hinted that we could be physically intimate again, but Clara felt a bit shy since her belly was starting to show, and her waist wasn't as slim as before. That night, after Clara took a shower and we went back to our room, she hid under the covers, refusing to show her face. Not until I finished my shower. I pulled back the covers, still fresh and cool from the shower. She was too shy to look at me, even though we were no strangers to each other as a married couple. But in that moment, it felt like our first time all over again. It went on for what seemed like ages, until we heard the gentle sound of rain outside, and then everything calmed down. She snuggled into me, too lazy to speak, comforted by my presence. I yawned sleepily, pulling her close, and mumbled, "I'm so tired. When the baby arrives, I'm going to scold them first for their mom always picking on me." I must have fallen asleep right after because I didn't hear Clara whisper in my ear, "Silly, it's because I love you and like you that I always want to tease you like this." Epilogue. When I was 16, my mom started getting close to a guy and even thought about marrying him. I didn't mind my mom remarrying, but I couldn't accept that it was the man my dad had hated the most when he was alive. Dad had told me that this man had liked my mom before, but my mom only had eyes for my dad. Even when they were set to be married, that guy tried to sow discord so my dad would break off the engagement. But my mom was oblivious to his schemes. My parents eventually got married and had me. The guy gave up and got married a few years later. Now he was divorced and back in town. He had heard that my dad had passed and that my mom had never remarried, so he reached out again. I just couldn't take it. During that time, it was like my mom was possessed, and she even hit me when I argued with her about it. That was the first time she had ever hit me. I ran out in tears and into the rain, heading to the cemetery to find my dad. I cried for a long time at his grave, holding my favorite bunny. It was a stray I had taken in, an orphan like me. I raised it tenderly, despite having lost my own dad. We were both orphaned. I used to have a mom, but now it felt like I had lost her too. I promised the bunny it would just be us from now on. That's the day I first met Clara. The cemetery was empty except for the two of us, both soaked, visiting lost loved ones. Maybe it was my pitiful crying that drew her over. She held an umbrella for me and used her handkerchief to wipe my rain-soaked face. I clutched my bunny and sniffled, asking her, "Big sis, don't you think it's really sad for kids without dads? Other kids can cry in their dad's arms, but I can only cry to his grave and just picture him." "You have to be strong. If your dad knew, he'd be heartbroken," she said, her eyes full of sympathy. "But I don't want to be strong. Why do I have to be? Just because I don't have a dad, does that mean I don't have the right to cry?" "What's your name?" "Ethan." "All right, Ethan. If you ever feel upset, come talk to me, okay?" "Really, sis?" "Of course you can. Whenever you need me, I'll be there." 22-year-old Clara had just lost her beloved grandparents and was drowning in sorrow. In the rain, she gently hugged the forlorn, soggy teenager, Ethan. They were like two forlorn souls adrift at sea, sharing a glimpse of warmth that day. But Clara never knew why I never called or reached out to her. After leaving the cemetery, I didn't go home. I went to the apartment my dad had left me. When my mom found me, I had been drenched for a day and a night, burning up with a fever that nearly drove me delirious. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. My clothes had been washed, and Clara's note with her number was long gone. I felt like I had forgotten something important, but I figured it was just the fever dreams. When I recovered, I had completely forgotten about that encounter. What I didn't know was that the illness had affected my health permanently. My mom was overwhelmed with guilt. Once she understood why I had objected so strongly, she broke it off with that man. She showered me with love and spoiled me, partly out of guilt, and also because the illness had changed my personality. I used to be sensitive and mature beyond my years, but after recovering, I became carefree and always cheerful. Even with my nemesis, Mark, I wasn't as harsh as I used to be. I was lucky to have a mom who truly cared for me, and even luckier to marry a woman who would protect my childlike innocence for the rest of my life. As for me, perhaps I would never realize that I wasn't truly a healthy man. But regardless, I am incredibly happy and joyful. Later, when our son turned 3, Clara got pregnant again and gave birth to a beautiful daughter. I gave her the nickname Emily. Clara loved our daughter even more than our son. My mom used to say that Emily and I looked exactly the same when we were little, and that we were both just so adorable and cute. By that time, I was already a dad of 2 kids, but the more I was with Clara, the more attached to her I became. I even got a bit jealous because she spoiled Emily so much. That night, I blocked the master bedroom door and wouldn't let her in. Clara tried to sweet-talk me for a while, and finally she said she would trade a secret for me to open the door. I unlocked the door and asked her what the secret was. Then she told me the story of our first meeting. I started crying halfway through her story. I missed my dad. I also missed that rabbit that had kept me company. We both got soaked in the rain. I survived, but it left me forever. I missed Clara then, too. 22-year-old Clara, the one who held me in the rain and let me cry my heart out. I wish I hadn't forgotten her. How nice would it have been if we had loved each other back then? 6 years had just flown by like that. Ethan. Clara held my face and kissed each tear away. Did you know I've been waiting for you since you were 16? I waited for you to call me, to look for me, until I almost gave up. Then I saw you at your university. You had a girlfriend, and when you walked past me, you didn't even glance my way. You were all about Chloe. Do you know how jealous I was? Later, I found out by chance that the guy I was supposed to meet for a blind date was named Ethan. I thought I should go and see if it was you. She hugged me tight, like I was a long-lost treasure. I'm so glad it was you. She sighed softly, her fingers gently brushing the tears from my eyes. The moment I saw you, I wanted to marry you, to make you stay by my side forever. Clara. I lowered my head, hugged her waist and kissed her while sobbing. You have to love me the most, forever and always, not more than Emily. Okay, Clara responded to my kiss. Clara will only love Ethan, love him the most in this life. You're a troublemaker. How am I a troublemaker? I was only 16 then. I pouted a bit. Were you checking me out? I was very handsome back then. So many girls at school had crushes on me. You were really handsome, but seeing you in a white shirt in a cemetery freaked me out at first. Clara, I playfully knocked her. Lucy looked at me, her eyes full of affection and indulgence. But even if you were a ghost, I'd still accept it. Ethan, I love you. More than you love me, and even earlier than that,